The arena fell silent as Cadet Sarah Chen stepped onto the polished metal floor, her boots echoing in the vast chamber. Above her, thousands of Zephyrians watched from tiered seating, their four eyes glinting with predatory anticipation. The reptilian species had dominated this sector of the galaxy for millennia, their warrior culture built on strength, speed, and ruthless efficiency. Commander Vexthak descended from the observation deck, his massive frame casting a shadow over the human cadet. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with razor-sharp claws and muscles like corded steel, he was the undisputed champion of the Zephyrian Combat Academy. His scaled hide bore the scars of 1,000 victories, each one a testament to his lethal prowess. So, Vexthak's voice rumbled through the arena's acoustics. This is what Earth sends us? A hatchling barely out of her shell? Sarah looked up at the towering alien, her expression calm despite the whispers of doubt from the crowd. At 5'6" and weighing barely 140 pounds, she seemed impossibly fragile compared to the apex predator before her. Her regulation training uniform was pristine, unmarked by battle scars or combat experience. The Galactic Coalition's integration program requires all species to demonstrate combat readiness, announced the Zephyrian War Master from his elevated platform. The human will face our champion in single combat, victory conditions, submission, or incapacitation. The crowd erupted in chittering laughter. Several Zephyrians made clicking sounds with their forked tongues, their equivalent of derisive snorting. To them, this was less a test and more an execution disguised as ceremony. Sarah rolled her shoulders and cracked her neck, a habit that seemed to amuse the aliens further. She had trained for this moment her entire life, but not in the way the Zephyrians expected. While they honed their natural gifts, their speed, strength, and killer instincts, humans had developed something far more dangerous: adaptability and tactical thinking. "Begin," the War Master commanded. Vexthak lunged forward with blinding speed, his claws extended to deliver what should have been a finishing blow. He had killed dozens of challengers with this opening move, his enhanced reflexes and predatory instincts making him nearly unbeatable in direct combat. But Sarah wasn't there. She had moved at the last possible second, not away from the attack but toward it, dropping low and sliding between the champion's legs. Her movement was precise, economical, every motion serving multiple purposes. As Vexthak's momentum carried him forward, Sarah's elbow found the cluster of nerve endings behind his left knee that she had memorized from Coalition anatomical databases. The massive alien stumbled, confusion replacing confidence for the first time in decades. Before he could recover, Sarah was already moving again. She vaulted up his back with fluid grace, her hands finding specific pressure points along his spine that no Zephyrian had ever taught her, because no Zephyrian had ever needed to learn them. Vexthak roared and spun, trying to throw her off, but Sarah had already wrapped her legs around his thick neck. Her positioning was perfect, cutting off blood flow to his brain while maintaining her own balance. This wasn't brute strength, it was biological warfare disguised as combat technique. "Impossible," breathed the War Master, his four eyes wide with disbelief. The champion clawed desperately at the small human clinging to him, but his own size worked against him. His arms couldn't reach the proper angles, and his massive bulk made him slow to adapt. Sarah, meanwhile, adjusted her grip with each of his movements, reading his intentions through micro-movements and breathing patterns. Within seconds, Vexthak's struggles grew weaker. His vision blurred as oxygen-starved blood struggled to reach his brain. The proud warrior who had never known defeat was being systematically dismantled by a creature he could have snapped in half. But Sarah wasn't trying to kill him. She was proving a point. "Humans don't fight like predators," she whispered in his ear as consciousness began to slip away from him. "We fight like survivors. We study our enemies, find their weaknesses, and exploit them with surgical precision. Your strength means nothing if I can turn it against you." Vexthak dropped to one knee, then to both. His massive frame swayed as Sarah's chokehold took its final effect. With one last defiant growl, the champion of the Zephyrians collapsed unconscious onto the arena floor. The silence was deafening. Sarah released her hold and stood slowly, brushing dust from her uniform. as if she had simply finished a routine training exercise. She looked up at the stunned crowd, then at the War Master whose jaw hung open in shock. "Submission achieved," she announced calmly. "The human delegation is ready for full integration into the Galactic Coalition's defense forces." Medical teams rushed to tend to Vexthak, who would recover fully but would never again underestimate the small, seemingly fragile species from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. In the weeks that followed, word spread throughout the galaxy about the human cadet who had defeated the Zephyrian champion without throwing a single punch. It wasn't strength that made humans dangerous, the other species began to understand. It was their ability to see patterns where others saw chaos, to find weakness in apparent strength, and to turn any situation to their advantage through sheer ingenuity and determination. As Sarah walked out of the arena, she allowed herself a small smile. Earth's children were no longer the galaxy's newest members. They were its most interesting students, and perhaps its most formidable allies. The age of human expansion had begun not with conquest, but with understanding, and that made them more dangerous than any predator the galaxy had ever known.